Smart 24, driving business.
A very good evening to you, our listeners and viewers. Welcome to the Fidelis Leadership Institute FAT Talk that come to you every Thursday live on our X Space, our YouTube channel at Smart 24. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our first show for 2025, and I'm glad it's coming at the end of January when we have all been jolted out of the end of year and are geared up for the start of a new year with all the things we anticipate for this coming year. Welcome once again. My name is Nanza, coming to you live from S24 Studios, Smart 24 Studios. And we are excited to begin this year on a fresh note with fresh mindsets and fresh insights. And I couldn't be more excited about the person that's joining me today because one, we have a history with our guest. We last had her here a while ago, I think on that we were, and now we are fully out. So it check to see and test the waters. Our conversation today, the conversation that matters, is going to be about building excellent teams. It actually feels right to talk about building because everything post-COVID was about building, rebuilding, and starting a new normal. Our guest for today needs no introduction. She's a powerhouse in by herself. She's a leader extraordinaire. To describe her in many words would do injustice to her many titles. Maybe what we need to know from her before I introduce her is what's new since we shared a moment and caught up right after COVID. Dr. Natalie Bitature, welcome to the FAT Talks.
Thanks for having me, Nanza. It's my pleasure to be here. As for what's new, there's always lots of things cooking at Simba Group. I think what's exciting for us this year is the growth of our learning platform, UKETA Learning Online. We've seen a lot of traction and a lot of good feedback over the last few months, and I encourage everyone to go check it out.
Oh, thank you very much. There's always something cooking at Simba Group, and that is why when we had to choose who to speak with as we start off the year to pick inspiration, to get momentum and gusto for this year where everybody's building, no longer rebuilding, but now after COVID we're in another state because the theme after COVID, every company, every firm, every entity was all about VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Dr. Natalie, we'll start off from where we left off about 24 months ago. What is the terrain like for you at Simba Group and your external environment post-COVID?
I think the worst of COVID is over, thankfully. In our businesses, we've finally seen everything go back to normal, and even now in some areas surpass where we had been. So we're back on a good growth track. I do think with the current economic times, things have been tighter, more difficult. That's something that we've had to be more sensitive to, the different market pressures. And as we ramp up for elections, I think it's going to continue this way.
Oh, so there is a bit of normal, not necessarily where we were, but there's a bit of stability in the new normal. Would you say that?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all took lessons from COVID and have improved our businesses from what we learned and from what we made possible. So I think coming out of that now, there's a lot we could have learned and have added and improved, and it's about taking those lessons to make things better in the future.
Thank you very much, Natalie. I get that background that we have laid because I don't want the anymore as a teams, sectoral diversity in your sectors that you take, the COVID excuse doesn't hold. Would that be a right assumption? Because we are going to talk about excellence, and that can be very subjective. Do you agree? Do you have a view on excellence in as far as post-COVID recovery is for teams and organizations?
If anything, I have the opposite view. I think we learned so much in COVID and what is possible. There's so much we didn't know we could do or could be, and flexibility in remote working, in the way that we engage as a team. So I think we learned so much in COVID that I think it's a very sad thing that happened, and, sad for those who lost loved ones and the difficulty it caused. From a business perspective, I think it was a good thing. We all were shaken up completely. We had to learn how to be flexible, adaptable, see a new way to do things. So I think it really opened people's minds of what's possible. So for us, I think COVID was almost a blessing from our excellence perspective, because now we have a new way of thinking. When there's an idea, when there's a plan, when there's an obstacle, what is possible? How can we get around this? How do we achieve this? Because nothing is impossible anymore.
Oh, thank you very much. You seem to leave clues, Natalie, that Dr. Natalie, that you as Simba Group have taken everything post-COVID and honed it into a stepping stone to what we call excellence. And based on our last discussion and many that have happened on your different fora, at HER, at the many diverse events you've spoken at, there seems to be a floating understanding, I use the word very gingerly, subjective, on what excellence is. If we could pick your mind as we start this conversation, because if we are going to lead teams into excellence, we have to have a definition. Is there such a thing as our definition of excellence? Is it universal? The way we talk about truth, my truth, does excellence have a size, a one size fits all?
I don't think anything has a one size fits all. Most things in life are subjective. I think there's different ways you can define it and different values you can pick. Personally, when I think about excellence, I think about high standards. I think about quality. That's how I measure excellence in what we do. I think, how much are you putting in? What is your outcome at the end of the day? Because many things can go wrong along the way. People can start out with good intentions, but what is your final product? What has happened? Did it happen? Did it not happen? What is the standard of quality you've put out there? What's the feedback you're getting? So I think that's how I think about it. And I think a lot of people also add excellence in the process, How much are you putting in? How much research? How much time? How much effort? The quality of your efforts as well. But I really associate the excellence with high standards.
Thank you very much for bringing in the issue of standards. Perhaps it allows us to diverge a little and change the trajectory. Is there a relationship between personal excellence and corporate? Do we expect that the values we carry as individuals translate into what we corporately achieve? Is it vice versa, which affects the other? Because if we can be very sincere, even you who's leading teams, people have lives 8 to 5 and then they have lives outside. So how do we mitigate that very core definition of excellence to kind of come in between what we do privately, individual excellence, and corporate excellence? As a team leader, what has been your experience? What do you have to say?
I think it's a mindset above all. A person who holds themselves to high standards in the office will also hold themselves to high standards in the home. So when we hire, we look for excellence in your attitude, in how you're going to approach the work, in the way you think about the things you're trying to achieve. And I think corporate culture of excellence comes from hiring people who have that mindset. You can't have an excellent culture and keep high standards if the kinds of people you're hiring don't even understand that or value it. They don't believe in it and it's not important to them. So I think you have to search for that early, and then other things like technical abilities and the knowledge you need to succeed on the job, you learn as you go. But you have to have that attitude where you want to push and you want to have high standards and you want to do better. And once your team is made up of people like that, it's much easier to achieve excellence at a corporate level.
So you do agree, Dr. Natalie, that there is a direct correlation between personal excellence and corporate excellence. Maybe for our listeners and viewers out there who are wondering, or somebody who's at the start of forming a team, and they don't have the skills to identify this kind of excellence that, because people have personas, they have a work persona. We've heard the interesting stories about news anchors and bankers and those high performance jobs where they tell you, we don't care what happened to you last night. When you get to that doorstep or the parking lot, put on your red lipstick, wear your high heels, and get in, like, line up. So for a person out there, for our listeners, for our corporate companies that are wondering how to spot the skills, maybe the 1, 2, 3, to know the attributes of excellent team members, what would they be looking out for, especially in this day and age where we have personal branding and all this jargon that's thrown around, so people have learned the performance act?
It's a good question. I would say when I look out for excellence in people, in the attitude, first I would look for someone who is proactive. People who tend to wait for things to happen to them are not usually the ones who reach high standards on high quality in their work. People who are proactive are alert and aware, they research, they come up with ideas, they don't wait for their supervisor to just give them the work. They, respond, they have feedback, they speak up. And I think that's a really good skill to have. I don't think these kinds of things are just natural. I think a lot of people assume it's just the personality, but it's effort. It takes intentionality to be that way. I think also having high integrity is important with excellence, because people who cut corners, hide things, lie about their work, let other people do the work and take credibility for it, those are not excellent standards. Those are not people who have high quality in their work and in what they put out and what they do. So I think looking for integrity is also always important to me when I'm looking for someone who is going to be on a team where I expect a high level of output. And then I think, thirdly, it's something in the personal efforts. So I think other than being proactive, you can see someone who has high standards in other things that they do. The way they keep time, the way they dress, the way they interact with their colleagues, their personal projects, the way they speak about their family life and what they do outside of the office. You can see the way that they approach life and their goals. They have a level of ambition that they're not ashamed about, that they put out there, that they're pushing for all the time, and a level of organization that shows that they are executing it. They're not stagnant people. There are some people who will be in your office for 5 years and they'll be exactly the same for those 5 years. They have the same life, the same hobbies, the same habits, the same questions, the same things they do every weekend. And then there'll be people who you see every 6 months. Now they've done something new. Now they've tried something else. Now they're getting a promotion. Now they're doing a training. They're constantly moving. So I think when you look out for these kinds of traits, you'll see that the results of that person's life and the outputs that they come up with at work and at home are higher standard than the average.
Thank you very much, Dr. Natalie. You just summed it up very well. If I can summarize what you just said, basically excellence leaves a paper trail. It leaves tracks, it leaves a footprint. You can't be excellent and then there's nothing to show for it. People are watching after hours, what you do after work and what you do when you come to work. Somehow they slip into each other. It's a gray zone. And then that resultant, the total sum of your habits in and out of the workspace can make you an excellent person or not. So we really appreciate that. And I hope our viewers and listeners, as we strategize for 2025, we hope to be excellent people wherever we are leading from. Those who are joining us, welcome once again to FAT Talks. This is the Fidelis Leadership Institute that brings you conversations that matter. Every Thursday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Smart 24, on our socials, on the YouTube, on our X Space. And this year, we do have a lot in store for you. Here at the FAT Talks, but even at FLI. Come February, somewhere in the middle of February, we do have a public interest litigation. We all know that leadership is all about speaking up, and Fidelis has taken the mantle an interest in public litigation. It's a subject that is neither here and there, and we have partnered with voices, individual and corporate, that is going to speak about things that concern you and me in as far as understanding, disseminating, advocating for public interest litigation to be done the right way. For more details, please follow us on our socials, and we'll be sharing more on that. We do have our annual fellowship, the FAT Fellowship Program. It will start on the 29th of March. We have a new faculty, a whole new set of modules to teach our leaders. Please do look out on our socials for that. We'll be reaching out to you and letting you know about that. And on an even more exciting note, for our fat kids, after a very, very, very successful conclave, a 360 Kids program that we did this very month, about 2 weeks ago, we did get new sponsors on board. We do have an essay competition that's coming to you in the first quarter of this year. Please watch out. We will be writing essays on leadership. We do have categories 5 to 12, then 12 to 19. The prizes are exciting. Some people will go abroad, others will go for vacations, others will go for very interesting. So if there are any young leaders out there, encourage them to pick interest, then watch our different socials for when the call for essays will come through. Thank you very much, Dr. Natalie, for your time. We do appreciate every time you come on, and as is our tradition, when we do host, we try to bring out the other side of you, and I know you don't mind us. The last time we were here, we gave you some songs, and we said, if this was the theme of your life, what would your song be? If I vividly recall, you were I Am Every Woman. I think we had I'm Every Woman, City of Danger, City of Losi, and you said you are every woman. 24 months later, our viewers and audience is curious. What would be the theme of your life in 2025? Are you still I'm Every Woman? Are you Take a Bow? Are you Jesus Take the Wheel? Dr. Natalie, what would be the theme of your life?
Does it need to be a song?
Well, a movie, a book.
I think, there's a song I really like, Farm Foundations.
That's
Farm Foundation? Yeah, Maverick City song.
Maverick City.
Yeah,
that would be
that's where I'm at this year. That's what it's about. I think it's more about having a good alignment and building on the foundation that I had and continuing to build on that.
Okay, that's new. Thank you very much. It is not Jesus Take the Wheel, thankfully, meaning you're not giving up.
No. I think you need God as part of your foundation. That's what makes it firm. Life will be full of surprises and shocks, and you need something that anchors you and grounds you and keeps you steady in who you are and where you're going.
Yes, that actually introduces our next segment on leadership, excellent leadership, very well, because as it is in the world today, we started the year with a bang. I could say we hit the ground running globally, and I know you may not be or might be interested in global politics, but there is no way any leader at this stage, especially if you are a business leader, that you're not looking over your shoulder with the changes that are coming in the leadership of the superpower we call the US of A. I'm curious to know from your leadership experience, we don't have to get political on this show, but we cannot ignore leadership trends and how we see them. The newly elected president, Dr. Donald Trump, has come with very many changes. And for purposes of this show, we'll pick out one of the instruments that he signed to undo issues of DEI, that is diversity, inclusivity, and equity. And what concerns us at Fidelis Leadership, and most likely at Simba Group, is what that means. Have you had to hire where excellence has been traded or measured against a diversity, inclusivity, equity requirement? And where does that fall? Because I know you're very passionate about women elsewhere with all your initiatives and minority groups, the youth, and all the work that you do with Musana Cards, HAR, and many other initiatives. let me pick your brain on DEI in light of merit versus giving some people a head start. Generally, it has nothing to do with Trump, but it's much louder, especially that he has written it into law.
I think we all have to consider these things. I don't think we have as much from a racism perspective as America. I think Uganda has more of a tribal issue. You get to some offices and you can see the nepotism very loud and clear. I don't think you have to give up excellence when you're trying to be more inclusive. I think it just takes a bit more effort to find the good quality people in that minority group. Whether you're looking for more women on your team, or a different tribe, or a different age group, or disabled members of your team, you just have to find them. People are everywhere, and they're good people everywhere. They are bright people everywhere. It really bugs me when people say, oh, if they just hired her because she's a woman, she's not good. It's not that. If you want to have more women on your team, you just have to be better at your recruitment. There will be women who are qualified in every single field, who will be as technically able as any man that you can find in that role. You just have to find them. They're out there. So I think we have a very good HR team, and we are very, I'd like to say, intentional about the way that we hire at Simba Group. You try to make sure that we don't have too much bias in any one team or department. Sometimes people do it unconsciously. As a manager, you end up hiring people who are so much like you. Even myself, I think there's one year I realized I was only hiring women. So you have to sort of be aware and have policies and systems. So it's part of our governance that we make sure that our teams are balanced and inclusive, and that you have systems that reward merit. Not this supervisor is friends with that one, this one is related to this one, that one is married to another one, so they get the promotions or they get the benefits. You have to have systems in place and policies, so there's checks and balances, so that things stay fair and equitable.
Dr. Natalie, I do hear you very well, and we could say this for the people at the back. Did I hear you say, or do I hear you correctly, when you say we don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, that the good intentions of DEI still hold, especially if we balance them out with the merits of merit, for lack of a better word, that if you are committed to hiring the DEI category, you can still incorporate excellence without compromising. So you have, say, women, youth, or minorities, but even with those, you still uphold the values of excellence, and there won't be a shortage, or there's not enough to go around. Is that what I hear you say? Because the message seems to be in absolutes. Either you're giving them 5 points a head start, or nobody qualifies if we put everyone to a level ground. Kindly reiterate that, because people are likely to run with what is convenient in the face of all the mileage and leverage that has been attained thus far in as far as DEI is concerned.
Yeah, I think that's a lazy attitude. Yeah, I don't want to compromise on quality. So you don't want a person who is poor quality on your team. You're not going to have that budget. So that's why I feel like you'd rather put in the extra effort at the recruitment stage. You know which group you have, you need to improve your hiring practices. They're a minority on your team. You find the quality ones within that group. There's no need to say, I need to give this one extra points and an advantage to enter to match the group. No, you can always find someone with the capacity and ability and the attitude that they will succeed on your team.
Okay, that has been very well said. Those of us who are joining us, it's Fat Talks. We have Dr. Natalie Bitetere, the team lead at Simba Group. She has been in this leadership game, skin in, 2 feet, both hands and feet in, especially post-COVID with all the uncertainty and volatility. And she's going places with initiatives, with wider audiences and higher impact and influence. And we couldn't have had a better guest than her today. We are discussing team excellence, and we've talked about, we've gone through the tapestry since COVID, the excuses, and now we've said they are no longer excuses. We've talked about individual excellence versus corporate. We've identified a few issues when it comes to teams and recent trends on DEI and ESG and all the words we hide behind when we don't want to lift the veil and peel down the layers so that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We are quickly going to turn to a topic that I know that is very dear to you, whether corporately or individually, and that is emotional intelligence. Anyone who follows you, who has read what you write and goes through your message, it is very clear that there's a level of personality for leaders at whatever stage. If you're a mother in a home, if you're a small business owner, if you are whatever level you're leading, because leadership starts with self. Why do you think that the message for emotional intelligence now more than ever before is important for excellent leaders?
I think the key part of being a leader is dealing with people. So emotional intelligence is the most important factor. And no matter how technically skilled you are, the higher up you go, as you become a manager and a leader, you're going to do less technical work and you're going to spend more time managing people. So on top of your own emotional intelligence and having the skill set to handle that well, if you're going to shine as a leader, it's going to be more effective as a leader. So you'll have better outcomes, you'll perform better, your team performs better, and that's how you train and you continue to grow. And I think emotional intelligence is becoming more and more important, not because it wasn't important before, but we are becoming more aware. As organizations are bigger, as our workforce is maturing more, we're moving away from just blue collar work or factory line style of work where you just have to do the same thing over and over. There's more creativity involved. People work in teams more. There's more partnerships. You can't sort of work as an isolated individual as maybe you could 100 years ago on a farm where you don't have to discuss with other people as the day goes. So I think it's becoming more and more important, and the more aware we are of it, the better the environment is for everyone. It's not only leaders who should, be aware of emotional intelligence and take an interest in it. I think from the early stages of your career, it's important. I remember when I was doing my master's, I asked one of my mentors, what should I be thinking about? What should I be researching so that I put myself in a better position once I'm done? And she said emotional intelligence is one of the most important things you're going to need. Your technical ability is not what they're going to hire you for. You'll have your degrees, your certifications. What they're going to look out for is how you're going to fit in the company culture, how you are as an individual, your attitude, your mindset, how you're going to be able to deliver, and how you're going to be able to work with people on a day-to-day. So that's when I really started taking an interest in emotional intelligence and what it is and what the different categories and meanings and tools, skills and practices are. And I think that's something that has really helped me to grow in my career.
Thank you very much. You just underscored the obvious importance of emotional intelligence. However, if we take it down and peel out a layer, 1, 2 tenets of emotional intelligence require one to, first of all, know thyself, and then you're able to understand others, and then your environment, and down the road. It's a small, thin line between knowing thyself, knowing others, and another term that leadership is throwing around, authenticity. Where is that delicate balance between knowing thyself, say strengths, weaknesses, we have personality types, and then being emotionally aware because you have to make that adjustment to fit in a team, in the team dynamics. What I would like us to appreciate with your experience is the notion of this is who I am and this is who I ought to be now that I'm aware. That delicate dance for people who have been hardwired, whether tribal or genetically, or that's the behavior that is modeled. Just be yourself. Sooner or later, your true colors will come out. What has been your experience as a team leader, as a person who is advocating for emotional intelligence and authenticity, that delicate dance?
I think that's an aspect of emotional maturity. People who say, this is how I am, take it or leave it, that's now a sign of immaturity. Because knowing thyself is being authentic, but yourself is, it's not that you were printed when you were a baby. God said, this is your personality, take it or leave it, and that's that. You're an adult. Everything about you is adjustable. It's about how you have cultivated your own character. That's why we talk a lot about building character when we do like workshops and things with young people. Just because you were raised in a certain way doesn't mean you're going to keep those bad manners or bad habits for the rest of your life. You're an adult. You're able to adjust, to assimilate, and to know what truly sits with you. I think authenticity is more about your values and living your values. It's not about your behaviors, the way you communicate, the habits that you have. Those are all surface level. So I think knowing yourself is knowing your values, what's important to you, what motivates you, what are your fears, what are your dreams. That's what you can't change easily. How you behave and how you interact with your community, very much in your hands. So it's important that you learn those skills and know. It's like you need to know where you are to know where you're going to go, the path you're going to take. So you need to know your own strengths and weaknesses so that when you're on a team, you can now see how are we going to work on this project together with all these different personalities. When you're a leader, how am I going to create a shared vision and make sure the whole team is motivated and supported to achieve the goals that we have? So you have to start to think beyond yourself as a leader, and you need to know your own blind spots, your own triggers, your own abilities before you start to do that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Natalie. As we get into the last segment, you just underscored the importance of balancing the delicate dance between authenticity and emotional intelligence. And you and I will agree that it takes a bit of self-initiative to be self-aware, to learn, if it doesn't come naturally to you, how to grow the maturity you spoke about earlier. And that brings me to my next question to you on a personal note. What's on your podcast list? What are you listening to? Which books are you reading that might help our audience? Because these things are not taught in school. Do you have any references, any pointers for those who might be curious to further their understanding of these excellence and leadership skills?
Yeah, I think what I encourage people is know how you learn. So if you like books, read books. If you like podcasts, listen to podcasts. You like YouTube, go on YouTube. Because all these topics you can find there. I think one of the first books I always encourage people to read is Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Assumptions, The Four Agreements, Four Agreements, which is very short and it's very simple and introduction to holding yourself, your own character, and how you interact with people. And yet it's very insightful. I think it changed how I see the world and taught me a lot when I was younger. And it's something that I keep and I carry all the time now. So I would highly recommend that one. There's a Daniel Goleman book on emotional intelligence. Simon Sinek has a really good YouTube channel. His social media generally, you can follow him on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, and there's lots of good clips and bits that can help with emotional intelligence. He's a good resource. So there's different avenues and different ways to learn about it. I think one big thing with emotional intelligence is you need to park your own ego and manage that. So I think once you're a bit humble in your approach, so much information can come through. You can learn so much, you can adjust, you can practice. You just have to try not to be defensive and take things personally and get your ego in the way. Once you manage that, then you can start to grow. That would be my pointer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Natalie. That's a tweetable tweet right there. Park your ego. We are going to quote you and we are going to sing that and we are going to make it our mantra, because leadership gives you a very, sometimes if you are lucky or unlucky, but ill prepared, it can throw you into very powerful positions. And they say power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. So let's park our egos in 2025, wherever we are leading from, like we've been guided. And then we will see growth and maturity on a personal level and on a professional level. Time is fast running out, but we could not end this conversation without talking about what is very near and dear. That is her women. It's growing, it's impacting lives, it's excelling. I think it's an excellent organization. It's in its very few years. And as a woman, as a leader who's working very closely with women leaders and entrepreneurs, we talked about this 24 months ago when we last had you here. Do you still hold the same views on work-life balance? What has been your experience with this whole myth? seeing on the ground with the women?
Work-life balance, the internal struggle. It's a challenge for sure, especially for women, I think. I don't know. I think the word balance implies that you get to a balance. I don't think you ever reach a perfect balance. I think there's always a level of sacrifice and a level of leaning into what's a priority to you at the moment, at the time. I think as women, the advantage we have now is there's knowledge. There's women before us who can tell us their experience and advise us. There's our peers who are going through everything that we're going through. And now I also think there's things like remote work and flexibility that make a huge difference. As the world also starts to wake up to women in the workplace and add new things that were not existing because previously it was not an issue for men, I think we're in a better position every year to attain some level of balance. I think it's about prioritizing, if I'm honest. You can't be everywhere and do everything all the time. As Shonda Rhimes said, if she's winning at work, it means she's losing in the home. She's winning at home, it means she's missing something at work. So I think there's a level of sacrifice that we have to get comfortable with and figure out how to make peace with it, but also be intentional in our goals. In this quarter, what is important to me in the office, in the home? What are my priorities? What is possible? Let us be realistic. I think the problem we have is we expect too much from women, and we also put that pressure on ourselves. You cannot excel and be 100 at everything. Even me, I struggle with this one. Sometimes I really feel defeated because I failed at something, but I have to think about my life holistically. I'm good at so many different things. I cannot be good at everything. I cannot succeed at everything. It's not possible. And it's unrealistic to expect women to be excellent wives, mothers, CEOs, assistants, sisters, secretaries. We can't do everything in one life. So you have to figure out what level of success you are comfortable with in each realm of your life, I think, and see how to now channel your energy to match that. If you have an important deadline at work, so something that's important, that's pressing, that's coming up, you need to now lean on your support system at home and accept that you're going to miss important moments or sacrifice certain things. And vice versa. When you know that your child is going to need you, or you have a family event coming up, or something that's going to be taxing, there's someone who's sick, then that means your work is going to suffer a little bit, and you now need to lean on the support system at work so that you keep that level of balance. You don't lose one completely for the other, but you find you live with it and you're comfortable. Told me, like, no one can tell you what you can tolerate, what you can handle, what you are going to be okay with. At the end of the day, when it's you going to bed at night, it's you who's going to live with your regrets, and it's you who's going to have to feel comfortable with the choices that you made. So I think that's the most important part of work-life balance. Be intentional with your priorities and be realistic, because it's you who has to live with those decisions and not regret it 20 years later or 5 years later or even a month later. I would have had that promotion if my child didn't have football practice, or I missed my baby walking for the first time because I was now in with those choices. So, about what can I really live with, what will hurt me more, what is more important to me in this moment, what's going to add value to my life holistically. It might be a rough 6 months, it might be a rough 2 weeks or a rough 1 year, but you have to think about your life in the long term, in the big picture, and see what you can really live with.
Thank you. That was a deep, insightful summary regarding work life, and you brought out Shonda Rhimes. I thought about Indra Nooyi. They seem to be saying the same thing in different ways. They talk about support system, they talk about delegation, they talk about prioritizing. The one that comes to mind is Priscilla Shirer, the lady who's always talking about what prioritizing means. It doesn't mean you have 10 boxes and they're all laid down, but looking at that 10 and choosing which one to bring up. As one comes out, another goes down, or trying to keep all balls in the air. So that's a good way to summarize. And what would this fat talk be when we have Dr. Natalie and we have Nanza and we have another few minutes to burn without putting in a fun thing? This is really a freestyle question for you, and really, we just want to hear your thoughts on that trend that is femininity, soft life. What is your thought? Yeah, really. Because I see you have blonde hair, red lipstick. I mean, you're looking fly. And it's getting better. You're becoming more bold with your fashion choices, with your clothes. We do follow. You have so many followers. So what is your take on femininity, soft life, self-love? Let's go unhinged. This is our first talk show, so no rules here.
I think I've had my own personal journey with femininity. I think coming from the background I grew up with, I was very masculine in my energy, and I thought that was normal. And also working in the industries I did from a young age, I kind of rejected the idea of femininity and judged a lot of women who just want soft life. But
sorry, please define for us your femininity. Have million and the in your before and after.
I think I was more where I was all about equality and doing everything a man can do and be everything a man can do. So even the way I would dress and the way I would behave was to match the energy of the men around me, because that's what I thought was normal in the business world. And then spending more time with female mentors, I saw how you can add layers of softness in how you do things. Because early on, it's very difficult to be taken seriously as a woman. And I thought being more masculine will help me to get through that faster. I think there's advantages that the men have, but I think you can't reject who you are. At the end of the day, you're a woman, not a man. And finding a way that women can be respected and taken seriously and achieve the goals that you want to achieve while still being yourself was something that was an important lesson for me to learn. I do think some girls take it too far, if I'm honest, maximizing on your femininity and leaning so much into it that they don't want to lift a finger or do anything. I think it's a loss, because all women have a capacity to do something, you know, to have some sort of engagement and interaction. Use your brain for something. It doesn't have to be to make money. Have a hobby, work in a charity, do something. I think the problem for me, it's become exploitative. Even when you hear men talk about it, women just want your money so that they do nails and their hair and their what. So I think it has become a bit of that's why it's a provocative topic and it's challenging for everyone right now, because it has risen and it's almost being weaponized now. So I think for younger women, it's a confusing time, and I do get a lot of questions about this. It looks like we who went through the masculine phase, or we who work so much, have a hard life and you're suffering. And I think a lot of girls do take that on, like I said, with trying to be good at everything and putting so much pressure on yourself. So there are aspects of soft life where I'm like, yeah, do your hair, do your nails, take care of yourself, get a massage, take a nap, you know, don't put so much pressure on yourself. I think the self-care aspect is important. And with femininity, you have to find your balance of what you're comfortable with, you know, what you want to wear, how you want to present yourself to the world. And that also evolves with time as you grow and you change in who you are and what you want to be. So I think it's a personal journey, and I would say don't succumb just to the trends and the pressures that are going on around, especially with things you can't take back. We will never get our time and our youth and our energy back, but be careful about how you make those decisions and make sure it's something that sits well with you. Because in 20 years, you're going to look back and say, how did I spend my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, you know? And was I happy? Was I comfortable? Was I overworked and stressed out and under pressure? Because also now there is more research that shows how women have more chronic diseases because we're repressing our emotions, or we're working too hard. We're not getting enough rest. We have more stress. And I think that's because we're trying to do everything at the same time. So finding that balance in soft life and femininity, but with your goals and with your own authenticity, I think is what should take some intentionality in how we plan our lives and our day-to-days.
Wow. Thank you so much for that very personal insight on the before and after. Oh, I already know what our next topic is. We are going to check with your calendar. We'll take a whole hour to discuss soft life and femininity if your schedule permits. But before we go, maybe we'll give you a mint. It's Women's Day coming up soon. Anything on her, in your end, hers, whatever. Let's just give you a minute to tell us about what's on your radar for the women in the coming months. Or any other thing from Simba Group.
Sure, thank you. Like I said, Uketa Learning is an online platform which I think it's a fun way to learn where it's flexible. It's not class, there's no stress, there's no exams. It's just watching videos on your phone like you're on TikTok, but you actually gain some useful knowledge that you can apply in your real life. And also with her, I'm very proud of the team at her. We've grown so much over the last few years. Every month we do have 2 meetups. We have a meetup where we have a guest speaker. This month we're talking about vision and planning out your year. And we also have an executive dinner, which is a bit more intimate, and you get to interact with the guest speaker and learn and ask them questions.
Do you know the guest speaker, please? Do you want to share with our audience? If you know already who the guest speaker is for this year?
Yes, for both of the events.
Yeah, please do share.
So for the executives dinner, we have Dora Babirie. She's a marketing and business growth strategist. So we're very excited. She's going to be talking about crafting a winning vision, which is something that's so important for women to make sure that we are moving on track. And then for the meetup, we have Isabella Katwesije, and she's the CEO of Fresh Cheanja. I hope I've said that correctly. So she has a busy food business, and she's going to teach us a lot about how those operations. We're looking forward to having both of them as guest speakers this month. We also launched a SACCO, so that's been something new in the last year. So our ladies now in the community, we're saving, we're going to be giving out loans this year. It's been going very well. We had our first AGM last week. The SACCO has grown with momentum, so it really makes me happy when we see women organizing their lives, having a vision, having dreams, and now we are starting to execute how we're going to achieve those dreams. So anything we can do to support women in growing in their agency, in their achievements, that's what HER is all about.
Well done, well done, well done. Everything is happening very quickly for you, and we applaud you and the team. Anything for the other gender? Lest they say we are not being inclusive, whether from Simba Group or any of your diversities. Yes, we have to balance this both.
That's why we started Educator. Honestly, that's why we had a lot of interest from gentlemen in our HER courses, because a lot of the courses we used to do were for women only, but there are skills universal men can benefit. So now Educator is a gender platform. We have male coaches and experts who also have their courses there. Whether you want to learn about grant writing, public speaking, how to manage your social media, personal achievement, personal development, personal efficiency, there's a lot of different options there. How to manage teams effectively. So we try to make it fun and interactive. You can engage with your expert and make it practical, so that you're not spending 20 hours on YouTube trying to find the right information. We've got someone who has curated it for you. It's going to take you through step by step how they have achieved this thing, what are the important factors of this area, and we make it easy and affordable. And like I said, you can do it on your phone at any time. Self-paced learning, I think, is something that's a game changer, because you don't have to show up for a class at a specific time. So the convenience of it is something that I think our students really appreciate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Natalie Vitature, our first guest this year. You've really set the tone. You've given us the momentum. You've given us the permission to be whatever we want to do, with caution on balance, femininity, soft life, leadership, authenticity, emotional intelligence. You've just taken us through a whole ride, and I think our tone has been set. Listeners and viewers, we thank you so much for joining this podcast every Thursday for conversations that matter, and we look forward to your interest events, as earlier mentioned, the essay competition for our children and teenagers, the FAT fellowship that's coming in March, the public interest litigation, and so much more. We do thank you from Smart 24. Thank you again, Dr. Natalie. Any parting shots, and we'll call it an evening.
Thank you so much for having me. All the best this year. Keep it going. I love platforms like this where we make it easy for all of us to learn and grow and share information together. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, and thank you very much, listeners and viewers, and we'll see you next Thursday for the same FAT show where we have conversation that matters. Goodbye.